to resist giving my goodbye. Drive my car into the ocean. You think I'm dead, but I sail away on a wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation, wave, wave.
Hello, I'm here. Let's get this started. So, hi there. Hello, and welcome to Accent Origin, a weekly writing web show. My name is Brendan. This is my show. What's going on, guys? What is going on? It's a lovely Sunday afternoon. This is after 12. I just want to give you guys some quick updates about what's going on in the next little while. We are so I regularly stream on Sundays. Next weekend I will be at a convention all weekend, so I will not be able to stream. That being said, I'm going to stream Friday morning and Tuesday at the regular time. So not one, but two makeup streams. But yeah, I'm gonna stream Friday morning, probably only for like 2 hours or so, but I will stream. Cause then I gotta go travel downtown to go do some stuff. But yeah, there's that. And then the Monday after Victoria Day here in Canada, we'll be finishing up The Black Company by Glenn Cook on the Rewrite podcast. So there's that as well. And then then the Tuesday. So that'll be on Monday, and then on Tuesday I will be streaming again at 12 p.m. Eastern to make up for the missed day. But yeah, we're kind of in a state of flux here on Accidental Origin. For those who don't know, those who are new or who haven't been here in a long time or whatever, this is a writing stream. I don't know how you ever could have guessed, spending any time with me, that this is a writing stream, but it is. The thing about writing streams is that they are not necessarily the most interesting thing to watch. And I admit that. I'm a writer, and I don't always find them the most interesting thing to watch. So, me and a few of my friends here on Twitch, oh, hi, Sheeps, have been discussing ways to boost viewer engagement on a writing stream. Because yeah, we want engagement. We want to interact on a level that we don't necessarily interact at this point. So the next little while, probably the next, because I don't stream very much, probably the next couple months, I'm going to be doing a lot of different things than I normally do. I'm going to be trying to mix it up. I'm going to be trying to see what works for us. Right? Hi, Link. What's up? Thanks for that follow, dude. Are you just getting off work? But yeah, so that's the plan. It's going to be a state of flux. We're going to have a lot of weird conversations about writing, about life, and how life relates to writing, things like that. Oh, I got you. That's cool. You made him, Sheeps? I don't know if I believed you, Link. Sheeps is very persuasive. By very persuasive, I mean she yells at you two to do something. So, to start off today's show, I am going to present a writing problem that I'm having with the comic book project I'm working on with the awesome Shamandrew art. Let's get some shout out commands in here. Boom. Whoop. That didn't work, did it? I got a new bot that I don't necessarily know how to use. Whoops. Give me 1 sec here, guys. I need to fix this real quick. Parameters. I mean, I totally said I wouldn't do this, but I'm immediately doing this. All right. Okay. Okay. Maybe? Where's Proud? I need to know how to fix this. So if I do this now, will it work? Nope. Hey Erica, what's going on? I immediately messed it up. Okay, now is it fixed? Yes, I fixed it. No, I didn't fix it. Let's try again. No. Damn it. Oh well, I'm not gonna worry about it. There'll be no shoutouts today. My bad. Okay. Yeah, I know, Erica, but I'm not using Nightbot. Nightbot's command structure is different. Cause that's originally what I had. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out later though, because otherwise I'm just gonna end up sitting looking at documentation for like 20 minutes, and that's not helpful. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with talking about a story writing problem that I've been working on, and we can talk about it, and then we can talk about some other stuff, and just talk about things in general. So yeah. Bum, bum, bum. Cool. So, for those who don't know, I'm just going to type this out this time. For those who don't know, I am working on a comic book project with the awesome Shmandrew Art. I just posted his Twitch link there in the chat. And I am working on issue number 3 right now. I've sort of thanks, Sheeps. I've how do I describe it? I've worked through issue number 2. That's all planned. I just gotta type it up. Issue number 1 is well done. We're beyond that point. Like I've done the final version of it. So I'm working on issue number 3, and I'm getting to this point. So our main character Matt is kind of walking towards the dam from the first issue. Now, he was new to the dam when he got there, and he hasn't been there in a few days because he got a bunch of stuff happened to them, which I'm not going to go into too much detail to avoid spoilers and all that kind of stuff. But he's walking towards this dam, and then he gets to the dam gate, and I can't figure out what I want to happen then. I know that he has to get inside the dam, but I can't figure out if he could potentially sneak in with emergency vehicles going through, if he could sneak into the bushes. I'm not even convinced that he needs to sneak at all, because he does technically work for their company and has worked at the dam. He just doesn't have a proper key card to get in. So could he convince the security guard to let him in? And I'm trying to figure out like what's the most effective way to get him there, like the most interesting storytelling way. Obviously, the way in my head was that he slips into the bushes, but it doesn't make any logical sense. So I'm trying to figure it out. I need a pen. Cool. Pen. And we're gonna go desk.bigface. So yeah, that's kind of my problem here, and I'm trying to figure it out. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think makes sense? What do you guys think works as a form of this sort of storytelling? Presenting a problem. Oh, and this is like notes for later. This is like a giant wood spar from work that are used to hold pallets together. He just needs to get in. And I can't figure out the right way to get him in. Because I was struggling with the logic of it, of the logic of him sneaking in unnecessarily. Like, he's a normal person. He should be able to just kind of walk in. He doesn't have access to any of those things, Sam. He has no access to a plane. He has never skydived before in his life. And underground boring machines cost about $2 billion more than he can afford. Nor can you get them on a moment's notice. So yeah. Cause like, I'm kind of thinking, I don't know. I've been trying to kind of create a problem in which there's something that happens with the gate that doesn't let him in, so he has to sneak in, and I'm just like, it's just so weird in my head. Sheeps is a cool kid. Who knew? Yeah, and like, that's the other thing, is he should have an ID badge for the company because he works there. I was tempted to make it so that he lost it, but I don't think that makes any sense either. Like, I mean, it's totally logical that he could have lost it. I just felt like it was me trying to force an outcome. And trying to force an outcome in storytelling just sucks. It doesn't feel good. Well, it's not even about permissions and all that. Like, he's not doing something he's not supposed to be doing. Like, and that's why all of the sneaking in and all that stuff doesn't sit right with me, because there's no reason for him to need to do that when he legitimately can go into this facility. He works there. He's not allowed there. He's just you know what I mean? Like, it's this weirdness of me trying to force an outcome, right? So, yeah. Let's pull out a new page here. It's like, he needs to get like goal. I'm gonna write down goal. And let me know if you guys want the notes big. I can make them big. I can swap my camera around. I just felt like this is gonna be mostly me talking, so the camera should be bigger. Ghost employees into the faculty. So that's the thing, and that's part of, for those who don't know, this is a fantasy piece. So there's a lot of elements of through the veil fiction, which is a type of fiction of seeing into the world that we can't see as regular humans. So for example, it's the type of fiction where ghosts and wizards and werewolves and all that exists in regular society, but you can only see them once you've like one you can only certain people can see them sort of thing. It's kind of the Buffy phenomena of everyone just rationalizes it as something else, even though it's monsters and all that, because they're otherwise their brains can't take it, sort of thing. It's the Harry Potter, like you only see wizards when you're a wizard and have access to the wizardy things. It's the Hellboy, you know, the stuff that only you can see or only certain people have knowledge of. So stuff like that. So I struggled with that decision, Sam, of like, do I make it so regular people can't see him? Or do I make it so that everyone can see him, monsters and regular people included? I ended up going with the latter because I wanted there to be interactions. I wanted him to be able to interact with the normal world. And I wanted that interaction because I felt like it would make him a more interesting character. He would have to deal with this sort of, all of the things he can normally do, he can still do, but he's always affected by this stuff that's happening to him from the other world of sorts. I'm gonna write that down. Other world is cool. The other world. So his goal is to get inside the facility. Now, so, he hasn't worked at this dam for very long. In fact, his first shift is when the sort of incident happened that caused him to be able to see into the other world. So that's important. But he has worked for this company for over a year. And the company is the Hudson. I'm gonna write it down here. It's the Hudson Dynamic Power. It's called Hudson Dynamic Power. They basically supply hydroelectric and nuclear power to a municipal area of about, we're gonna say, 3 towns. Yeah, like 3 or 4 towns, one small town, like one small city, or yeah, one small city and one medium-sized city. And the medium-sized city is where this takes place. It is, I can't reveal the name of it yet to you, but it is there. So yeah, it's about that big, and so he's worked for them for about a year. He was working at a different facility. He transferred facilities. So he will have a company ID badge. Neo Tokyo. Yeah, everything takes place in Neo Tokyo, always. Or Neo something. One of the worst but yet the best Gundams is G Gundam. And G Gundam takes place in an alternate future where all of these colonies, and Gundam is always about space colonies versus Earth. That's like almost every Gundam I've ever seen is based in that sort of dichotomy. Sometimes it's not always space colonies. Sometimes it's things like people living on the moon or people living on Mars. But it's basically the same idea. So in G Gundam, there's all these space colonies, and all the space colonies are named after old countries on Earth. And every so many years, all of those space colonies send a Gundam fighter to Earth to battle it out, to determine who's the superior space colony. And yes, the moon is totally in space, but I was thinking, like, when I'm talking space colonies, I'm talking artificial space colonies. Whereas, like, the moon is a planetary body. Right? Mars is a planet. It's not really a space colony. In the same way that, like, creating an orbiting satellite is a space colony. But yeah, so in G Gundam, there's all, like, Neo Canada and Neo Japan and Neo France and Neo Germany. Literally every single one of them is called Neo something, and it's hilarious. And they're also really ridiculous mech designs. Things like Neo Mexico is like a cactus with a sombrero, and it's just terrible. Terrible sort of thing. So yeah, Matt, our main character, does have a company ID. Now, the magnetic strip on it doesn't work anymore because of all the static electricity that he's been put through, same as his phone doesn't work anymore because it's been staticked to death. So that's one thing. Now, the other part of it is this entrance that he's going to is meant to be somewhere you drive, and his car is still at the facility because he couldn't collect it when the incident happened. Neo America's 2 hamburgers and extra large Coke. No, it's a cowboy boxer. It's what it is. It's like a cowboy with 6-shooters or it's like a gorilla with 6-shooters who turns into a boxer when they need it. When they need more effective melee stuff. I could go for Neo America right now. 2 hamburgers and extra large Coke. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and the gate, because I spent some time doing research on what dam gates look like, and a lot of them are just like, I should have some photos here actually. I probably have some photos. Let's go to my reference folder here for the project. No, I don't. But I was doing some research on dams, and a lot of them are just like gates with a key card thing on the side that just lets you in. There's not even a security guard post or anything like that. Mine was supposed to be a security guard post one because I kind of like that idea. I like the idea of having a security guard post. I felt it matched my tone a little bit better. And it's not like certain ones of certain size do and certain ones of certain size don't. It's kind of it depends on what the facility is like and what the area is like and stuff. So there's that for sure. So it's not really generally a place that you regularly walk up to. That being said, because most of the dam has been destroyed and there's kind of emergency crews working on a ton of stuff, it's very much a like there could be someone walking scenario. I don't think it would feel that out of place to have someone walk up. The security guard wouldn't be too weirded out about it, is what I'm saying. Because there's probably a lot of people walking around, as long as they have the proper ID to get into the facility, right? So maybe I'm just totally overthinking it, and he should just be able to get in the facility. Does that seem like a weird step to you? Like, am I completely overthinking this? Because that is entirely possible. Okay. Yeah, like, yeah, like maybe I'm starting to think that I'm just completely overthinking this. Like, maybe all he has to do is show his ID at the gate and get in the facility. Yeah, and I was also thinking that I haven't planned a whole lot of issues 5 through 8 yet. Um, issue 4, I have the general plot for. I have a synopsis for it, but I haven't planned the whole, like, exactly what I want to do in issues 5 through 8, though I have an overarching plot that I'm going to be moving through. So there is a very distinct possibility that he could come back at a later time, uh, come back to the dam at a later time, and then he could sneak into the facility. Or maybe I could just use all of the stuff that I was going to use for him sneaking into the dam and use it at a different place. Because there is going to be a brewery, and he's going to have to sneak into that at some point. Actually sneak into that, because he's not supposed to be there. And that's a great question, Sheeps. Do you recommend writing a script for a comic versus just going with your imagination, aka winging it? Really, it comes down to personal preference. So, in my opinion, I have to write a script because I'm not an artist. I can't draw my own comic. I mean, I could. It wouldn't be very good. It wouldn't be the level of comic I'm trying to go for. For those who haven't seen it, I will post the Instagram link. For so this is one of the main characters in mine and Andrew's comic, Strangers Beyond the Door. That's Rai, an lightning elemental, right? I cannot draw something on that level, not even close. I am not the worst artist in the world. I would need a lot of practice to be at any sort of level to be able to draw a comic. So for me, get that flyer off screen. I was actually writing on this. I'll show you. I was laying out comic pages on here. It was just kind of there. But I can hide it, I suppose. Yeah, and one of the for those who don't follow comic people on Twitch, but there's a few people who specialize in comics on Twitch, and I will literally write notes on anything. Like, look at this. This is a big cardboard spar that I have, like, notes on. I was writing this last night so I didn't forget. If you follow, like, John Lee or some of the people that he really likes, like Mobius and all that, they are very much in favor of building a world as you go, of having kind of a driving force and letting the story breathe and come out of it. I think webcomics in general, because they don't have a finite end unless you're doing it as like specific issue by issue, are going to have very much that same feel of they're going to evolve over time. They're going to change. They're going to live. They're going to breathe. Your characters are going to come forward out of that. I know quite a few people in comics who will never write a script. they'll be sketching their own stuff, so they'll just make a short form outline and just go with it. I know some webcomics people who write full scripts, especially the ones who are working in groups, like a writer-artist combo or anything like that. A lot of that will be scripted, things like that. The real answer is, Sheeps, do whatever works best for you. And that sounds like a weird cop-out answer, but it's legitimately the real answer. Because the only way that you're going to be able to work effectively on your comic is not by doing something that I say. It's by doing the thing that makes it effective for you to get it done. And the only way to figure that out is to try it, is to try different things. I've spoken about it a few times, the few times that over the last few weeks, of Anthony Johnson, who's the writer of Atomic Blonde. He wrote a great article on process. And that was the crux of his argument of, like, the best process is the one that lets you write and write well and write quickly and whatever else. And the only way to find that process is to try a bunch of different things. I think there's some things that a lot of people do and a lot of people that have found effective, and I think it's worth it to try some of those things first to see if they work, but they're not the only way. And sometimes a more inefficient way that provokes your brain positively is better than the most efficient way that provokes your brain negatively. Because it's about the process. It's about the way that things happen for you. It's not about the most efficient or inefficient way to do something. And thanks, Loveless. I appreciate the compliment. Do I think there's a preference to webcomics instead of printed books? Sort of. Personally speaking, I feel like webcomics were bigger 5 years ago than they are right now. I think they definitely still have a presence. And webcomics are a great way to get your work out there, to get people interested in your work. Especially because print on demand has become such a better thing now than it used to be. So it's not that expensive to get your work printed for sale later. I know a lot of webcomics, what they'll do is they'll add extra stories to their print versions so that there's extra material for you to get in the print version, make it a little bit more enticing. I think right now the biggest thing is actually somewhere in the middle. It's digital versions of comics through services like Comixology. Comixology is really kind of like the Amazon of comics. Actually, they're owned by Amazon now, so that's like legitimately a thing. Where you can release a traditional style comic book in a digital format and sell it along with all of the big name guys like Image and Marvel and DC and all that stuff on the same platform. And it still has that low overhead that digital like ebooks have. And they're vastly rising in popularity. Yeah, this stream brought to you by Amazon because Twitch is also owned by Amazon. Right? And you can kind of gauge where your comic is at, and then maybe you can release trades of the issues or something later. You always have that option. I think for you, Sheeps, I don't know that much about your serious project that you're considering. I know that a lot of the stuff I've seen you draw as comics is really more of a gag strip, and I think would work really well with the sort of your web comic style. Yes, all hail Jeff. Excuse me. So yeah, I think you have a lot of options, and it's one of those things that, again, the answer is kind of, you should do the option that works best for the audience you're trying to reach. Personally speaking, print comics, unless they're by one of like the big, well, let's say unless they're by like the top 7 to 8 companies, are not gonna sell. They're not gonna sell in large quantities. So I think in that space, independent comics, like, people don't buy independent, like, physical comics all that much. I think digital comic sales are much higher in sort of the independents, and there are certain companies that do only digital that do pretty well. Yeah, and that's not to say creator owned and all that doesn't do well. Because like Image and Dark Horse and a few others who do creator owned stuff are very much in the big name and do sell comics. And then there are certain publishers that do like books. For example, Drawn and Quarterly out of Montreal, who's a really awesome comic book publisher, doesn't publish like traditional comic books. They really only do like trades and graphic novels and that kind of thing. They're really cool. But yeah, they basically do books, which is much easier for them to sell. Yeah, I've got a particular story that I want to make into a serious long-term story comic versus doing a novel with illustrations, which is something I thought about doing as well if the comic doesn't work out. The gag strips are just me messing around. Yeah. I personally have never really read an illustrated novel. I know of a few of them, most of which are by Neil Gaiman. Things like Stardust. He did another one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was also... I'm trying to remember the name of... Oh, whoop. Oh, whatever, this'll do. I guess Coraline was a illustrated novel, wasn't it? Maybe not. I'm not sure. I suppose it doesn't really matter. But yeah. Neverwhere was not an illustrated novel. Neverwhere was an actual novel, which was adapted into a BBC miniseries and a graphic novel. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. I'm a big fan of Neverwhere. I like it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. There was something else he did as well. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot about illustrated novels, to be honest. The idea seems intriguing, almost like a adult version of a picture book. But you'd have to, I think for something like that, you'd have to have a story. You'd have to use the illustrations in a way that really enhance the story. And I'm not sure. I'd have to try it. I'd have to figure out what's the best way to do that. So I'm not sure. Long-term story comics are really cool. I've read a few of them. I've read web comics of like 600 pages. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Yeah, like the writing has to be strong enough that it's not the illustrations carrying it, but you want to have these like really strong illustrations that will like the way that I'm thinking about it now, it feels really weird to me that you'd have illustrations that would be basically things that you've written about. You'd almost want the illustrations to be separate from the writing. And what I mean by that is that you'd be telling your story kind of in the writing, and then it would be an illustration, and then the next part of writing would take place after that illustration. Like you'd almost use it like inserting a comic panel into the writing to give you a visual sense of this one specific thing and like move through it like that, in my opinion. Again, I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but that's kind of the way that I'm thinking about it. That it'd be this sort of weird, like, comic with writing, almost. I don't know. Never done something long term that was a repeated process for a comic, which is why I thought of the illustrated novel. I feel like I couldn't mess up an illustrated novel as much as I could a comic. I don't know. I think in a certain level, storytelling is storytelling. And if you have an effective story, it doesn't really matter. Like, for example, I don't know how many people have read this. I know Sam has, but like The Order of the Stick has been on an ongoing webcomic for like, I don't know, 15 years maybe? Does that sound right, Sam? I don't know how familiar you are with them. Let me see what's on here. 2003, so pretty close to 15 years. And it's literally slightly illustrated stick figures. But it's got such a nice style to it that it allows the storytelling, a lot of elements. Like it's got enough detail to give all the characters distinct personalities, stuff like that. I'm reminded of Jeff Lemire, whose style is really weird and strange, but it works and he uses it to his advantage. He's really good at using his style as part of his storytelling process. He does illustrations like this sort of thing. Like there's yeah, no, and Sheeps, this is exactly why I wanted this sort of format, was that I want people to be able to just ask me questions and talk to me and have a discussion about writing, about what writing is, about what, like what I'm trying to do. That's why I started it off with this sort of question of my comic, because, it's a jumping off point. It's something that I need to solve, and it's also something that we can kind of use as a bridge into a larger conversation. So I'm going to answer your question, Sheeps, and then I'm going to take a break. But yeah, so do I think it's better to have a story that continues forever in a webcomic, or a story to have a point eventually? I'm just picking your brain. I don't know. I think it really depends on the story. I think that... Okay, let's take manga, for example. Manga is a good thing to compare in this sort of situation. The way that manga works is it's basically an indefinite ongoing with no end until it loses popularity enough that they decide that the publishing company no longer decides to continue producing it. So in that scenario, you end up with stories like Bleach, like Hajime no Ippo, like Naruto, where the stories just go on and on and on and on forever, like for years upon years upon years. And those aren't even necessarily the longest running manga of all time. There's some that are a lot longer. I really like Hajime no Ippo, but there are many arcs in that series that I am not a huge fan of. You know what I mean? And you kind of have to add all these new characters, and your cast gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all that sort of stuff. And if used effectively, can be really, really, really satisfying. But at the same time, is not necessarily all that interesting all the time. So I think the best way to look at it is to look at it as a story that grows, and as long as you have something interesting to tell, you should continue telling it. And then when that's done, then you can go on and like end it or do a spin-off or do something different. Like, I kind of feel like as you grow, your story will grow and the way that you approach it will grow. And I don't think locking yourself into one specific thing is necessarily the way to go. I have seen webcomics that function very well as like, this is issue number 1 and it does this, and this is chapter 1 and it does this. So those are all, it's just about the way that you approach the storytelling. And when I say that they have chapters, that isn't necessarily like they have a definite end, like after 15 chapters the story is going to be done. It's just that, they're approaching it in a different structured way. Yeah, and there'll definitely be lulls and peaks no matter what. I'm just saying though that, when you're talking about a manga that's been running longer than I've been alive, like, that's a lot of content that has to be at least somewhat good, Hey Gabib, what's up, man? How's it going? There's no obtrusive sub notification because I don't want one. I'm still playing around with a lot of the stuff with the changes here. Like I said, this is a kind of an experiment for me. An experiment in engagement and interactivity. I'm going to be changing some stuff. I'm probably... And don't tell Erica unless she's still here, I might add some background music. We'll see. I'm still considering what I want to do with that. Part of the problem is that I don't want the YouTube VODs to be muted. And I'd prefer them not to be like copyright flagged. So I'm gonna have to do some more research into some stuff. Yeah, I agree, Gabib. It is 100% intimidating to start reading a story that has 60 volumes. I find the easiest way for something like that is if you saw like one specific storyline or had a jumping off point that wasn't necessarily the beginning, so you could kind of get into it. That always helps. That's one of the reasons why Marvel and DC kind of fail, because it's so hard for new readers to get into it. Because you like almost have to know like hundreds of years of comic book history to read Batman. Because there are so many things that are relevant that aren't even in the current continuity and stuff. Like it's really weird. I'm doing great, Gabib. Thanks for asking, man. So yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break now, approximately 5-minute break. Get up, stretch my legs, but I will be back, and yeah, I'll come up with something cool to start the next segment. But yeah, cool. I got nothing. Sorry. Thanks, guys.
All right, I'm back. Cool. All right. I think I found the one thing for the shadow real quick. So let me just edit that, see if it works. I don't know though. Let's try this real quick. Oh, it worked. I don't know why it didn't work last time, but it worked now. And you should totally follow Sheeps, because she's awesome. Whoop. Alright, fix that. And just fix this last one real quick, and then we're good. Cool. There we go. Oh, do not close that. Okay, cool. That works. That works real well. All right. So, let's get to the next problem. Neato. Back to it. Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. All right, there we go. I feel good. Water. Nice. So in issue number 5, I'm going to skip a bit because I have issue 4 basically figured out. So in issue number 5, I want there to be basically a call to quest, as it were. It's not quite room temperature. I've been letting it warm up a bit, so it's still a little cool, but it'll get there. Yeah, in issue 5, I want there to be a call to quest. Basically, our character's kind of hanging out in a cantina style bar, and he sort of wants to return to being a regular human. So I need a good way of giving him this sort of hints of something that will do that. So what do you guys think? I mean, there's the obvious, like, oh, hey, I overheard you talking there, buddy, and I think I have a thing for you sort of idea, which is definitely valid. But there should be some other ways as well, right? Because that again seems a little forced to me, like kind of like, oh well, that's a coincidence. And I don't really want it to be Rai who suggests it, because that also feels forced to me. Yeah, and this is definitely a tricky one. I agree, Sheeps. I think this is one of the more tricky ones of the stuff that I need to figure out. And it's okay if we don't come to a conclusion right now, by the way. I'm proposing these questions to sort of think about writing and talk about writing more so than anything else. If we don't come to a good answer right away, that's fine. I will be continuing working on this project. So like if I don't come to an answer right now, there'll be an answer later. And it's also very possible that no matter what answer I come to now, I'll need to change later anyway. um, yeah, like that's an interesting point of like put him in different company. Yeah, that's intriguing. Kind of like going to Google in human form. Yeah. Uh, hey, I heard this thing. Yeah, like if a goth kid wants to be prep, who does the goth go to and start mimicking? Well, if you're goth, you're already super cool. Why would you want to become prep? Such judgment. Yeah, I know, Sam. I'm a judger. It's fine. Yeah, so theoretically speaking, you would go hang out with the goth kids. If you were trying to be a goth kid, you would go hang out with the goth kids. If you were a prep kid, you would go hang out with the prep kids. Right? I think that makes sense to me. But I agree with you in that one of those things of if someone's looking for something, it has a word of getting around. And I also could be getting a little bit lost in this idea of I wanted that call to quest to be very immediate, but maybe I'm being unrealistic. Maybe it shouldn't be very immediate. Maybe that's forcing it too much. Of like, maybe there needs to be a little bit of time in between the sort of devastating realization of he's never going to be normal again and sort of the call to quest of maybe there's a chance. Right? Like give him some time to kind of come to a realization or come to a spot emotionally where he wants to change something. Because I feel like if I like do it right away, like say so at the end of issue 4, he's in this bar and he's just been told that he can basically never be a normal human again. That at the beginning of issue 5 would take place like moments later and someone would be like, hey, whatever. But maybe what I should do is I should put some like processing time in there of like Matt has to go and sort of figure out what's different in a way. So maybe he comes back like a few days later and is like, hey, I need you to fix this. I don't know. Yeah, and I'm very much going for that mimicry of the stages of grief in this comic, where, you know, he starts off with this sort of like, a thing happens in issue 1, and then issue 2 he's feeling overwhelmed and destroyed, and then issue 3 he's starting to feel a little bit of he's like, no, I need to get my mind off this. I need to do something. And then in issue 4, he's feeling anger, and issue there are a lot of those elements of how I'm trying to play this scenario, right? And I agree, like that's exactly what I'm going for. Where I want this normality, this idea of normality, to be his like. To be the driving force behind his character arc, to be the driving force of why he makes decisions. Like, he's trying to become normal. I mean, grief is from loss. It's from any sort of loss. A loved one, your favorite top. I'm not saying like you should be devastated over your favorite top or anything like that, but there is a sense of grief, of nostalgia, of memories, of love in those elements. You know? Of losing that bracelet that your friend gave you in the 6th grade that was kind of the symbol of everything that you did back then, you know? Like, grief doesn't have to be life-changing, but it can be. You know what I mean? It affects us differently. It affects, like, anything we care about, we can have grief over the loss of. Yeah, the ending of friendships. I have definitely felt grief over the end of friendships before. That happens. That's a real thing. Yeah, well, the loss of a good car, the loss of your first car, the car you bought on a shoestring budget when you were in college. Like, there's so many elements of our lives that come and go, that change. And change is an important part of a good character-driven story. When we talk a lot about film terms and things like that, film, the way that a story is constructed, is very much in terms of the status quo. And the status quo is life as we know it. The things that we understand and how they work, where they're supposed to be. And the character of a film, this is talked a little bit in terms of novels and all that stuff too, and I think storytelling applies to everything. So we're going to mix elements of that into what we're doing, but so there's a status quo, and then the inciting incident, the thing that propels the story forward, is a change to that status quo. Excuse me. So, in this story, the incident that changes Matt, that gives him the ability to see the other world, That's his change in status quo. He is no longer normal. And what that means in terms of the plot is that oftentimes the character seeks a return to the status quo. They seek a return to normalcy. Matt, who's now no longer normal, just wants to be normal again. And in order to do that, he has to confront problems, confront people, find out things, and figure out whose fault it was. He attaches blame. Right? Because he didn't choose this. This isn't something that he chose. It's something that happened to him. So he lashes out. In grief, in rage, in fear. He never wanted this. You're exactly right, Sam. And I agree, Sheeps. Like, there is no romantic relationship in this comic. There is no love interest. There's no room for it. Love isn't going to make him normal. I didn't want this to be like your run-of-the-mill, like Hollywood style movie. That's not to say those are bad. I love a good romance subplot. It can make or break a film sometimes. But it doesn't feel right in Matt's world. It doesn't feel like it would solve his problem. It's not what he's looking for. Right? And maybe it would make him feel normal. It would regain a sense of balance. But he'd still be confronted with this otherness that's part of the story. So, yeah, I don't know. It's not something I want, you know? I just don't feel the spot where it would really fit in this instance. And I'm glad that you're appreciating that, Sheeps. And I think Andrew expressed that same thought of like that he liked that as well. That it didn't need to have that. Not every story does. So there's certainly that. Yeah, I agree. I agree entirely, Sheeps. There are plenty of awesome romance subplots. There are plenty of awesome romantic movies. They're just, it doesn't have to be that way all of the time. I mean, it's one of those things that love is such an integral part of who we are as a human being, like emotions and love, things like grief and sadness. That's why songwriters write the types of song they do. They don't write it because a love song sells better than another song or anything like that. If anything, country music has proven that completely untrue. It's that those are fundamental connectedness that we feel with each other. There's something that everyone understands on a certain level. You know what I mean? And I agree. Like, there are different types of love. Love can be sweet. It can be passionate. It can destroy you. There's all kinds of different ways to approach that. I didn't say country music was garbage. Now you're just misquoting me, Sam. But yeah, some of my favorite things that I've written or things that I've seen have been about the destroying power of love. One of the most personal pieces that I've ever written was a play, which I think I adapted into a short film, but it's a play about two brothers. One who is a musician and the other who's like an accountant, but like the brother who's a musician is chasing his music so hard that it is literally destroying him. Because he doesn't know how to do anything else. He tried to be without music and he couldn't. He was imploding without it. He's imploding with it. And it's weird and it's sad and it's about this sort of, this weird dynamic between art versus commercial art versus the choices we make to pursue those things and all that. Yeah, it's weird, and it's about that sort of concept. Small-time magician. You're funny, Sam. No, there are no magicians in it. That's not a thing. But yeah. So maybe you're right, Sheeps. Maybe what I need is I need some space. I need to put some space there. Maybe start up issue 5 like a week later. Of like, he just continually shows up. Hey, Proud, what's going on, man? Yeah. I don't know. I hope that made sense. Of like, yeah, I think there needs to be a space there. A space of like, I don't know. Then I'm still stuck in this problem of how I want that call to Quest to happen. But I definitely think that allows the story a little bit more space to breathe. So it becomes more logical that the call to Quest happens. At this time, it's just a matter of how do I get there? So what has Matt spent the week doing? Has he spent it wallowing? Write that down. Oh, hey, Brad. Yeah, so we were talking about issue number 5 of Strangers. because I've been asking a few questions about things that I wanted to logical flaws in the story that I had in my head, and trying to process through them. So wallowing, yes, for sure. Does he go to the bar a lot, like this crazy monster bar? Eating cheese. Does he try to fit in? Or does he completely reject this monster world, this crazy other world that he's a part of? Yeah, I think he would have rejected it pretty completely as well. Um, I would consider Matt to be fairly introverted. He's pretty quiet. He keeps to himself. Part of that's just because people find him weird. I think a lot of it. Actually, if I want to be more specific, I think he used to be extroverted, and then his time at the Zona Dam, like the Zona River Dam, uh, made him an introvert. And this current predicament just pushed that further, made him more introverted. Yeah, no, for sure. But if he's seeking a return to normalcy, Proud, then is he trying to fit in with the new crowd that he's been forced to interact with, or is he trying to fit in with the old crowd who he wants to be a part of? Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, Sheeps. Like, I feel like no matter what choice he makes, he's going to feel out of place. And that's important to know. Let's be honest, no one likes change. I disagree. I think people do like change, but it's only when it's change that they can control. It's the change out of your control that you don't like. I agree entirely, Sheeps. I agree entirely. That he wants to try and fit in with normal people as much as he can, but he can't. Sure, Prod, I agree with that. It's only if it's changed in their favor, and I agree that most people, when you're talking about change that you control, is change in your favor. Because why would, if it was in your control, why would you change it to something that's not in your favor? For sure, but it's still. I don't think you can blanketly say people don't like change. Yeah. Okay. Starting to get a good feeling for where I want to go. Yeah. Starting to get a good feeling for it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wonder if you'd almost start the issue with like a montage of kind of like the week so far. That's fair enough, Proud. The way I look at it is I'm all about, well, all about. I am a big fan of personal change. I try to change myself a lot to be a better version of me. Growth, when you think about it, growth is change. It's just the more polite way of putting it. Just like calling someone hungry versus desperate. Hungry is the polite way of saying someone's desperate. It's all a matter of interpretation. It's the same thing. Yeah, and I think lashing out is important. Um, yeah, I agree. I agree with Cheaps. Emotional survival is a thing. Um, People do get into that fight for survival mode a lot, Proud. Especially when you're faced with life changing events beyond your control. Um, yeah, and I know you would. I know you would know that, Proud. But I'm just saying it needs to be stated. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, and it's weird because Matt kind of lives in my head. Like I have a pretty good handle on the way he interacts with things, in my opinion. Because I'm kind of taking him from this one place and bringing him to another. Uh, so I'm seeing how he's changing and adapting to those events as it goes along in my head. And exactly, Brad. There is no right way, and I agree entirely. I'm trying to figure out what's Matt's way. And more so specifically, I'm trying to figure out how to give him this call to quest. Like, what's the best way to approach him with this call to quest? What if someone literally calls him on the phone? What do you mean, Sam? What do you mean by calling him on the phone? Like not like I understand what a phone call is. I meant who would call him and why would they call him? And how would that affect him? So Matt spends the majority of issue 4 looking for the elemental because he blames the elemental and he wants the elemental to fix it. And the realization at the end of issue 4 is that the elemental can do nothing about it. He feels bad because it sucks, but he can do nothing about it. There's no secret bureau, Sam. You know this. Right? But the realization is not so much an epiphany as a... Like, I don't consider it to be an epiphany so much as it is a... how do I put it? Like a... It's like you've invested all of this energy in this one thing because you want this outcome, this one outcome, and there's no possible way for you to get the outcome you want. So how do you react to that? Yes, Sam, epiphany. I get your joke. Yeah, and I mean in certain ways the elemental is a mirror. In other ways, the elemental, like, because it's the elemental's fault for this seeing the other world, but the elemental has been imprisoned for like 100 years and just wants to get out. So he feels bad, but he was willing to do anything he had to do to escape, sort of thing. Right. I mean, I guess you're right, Proud. It is an epiphany. I just consider like an epiphany as more of an aha moment than a devastating moment. But I suppose it could be both. Yeah. About the otherness. Ahas and darns. I don't know. I'm not really going to swear in this moment, but... I spelled that wrong, but whatever. Yeah. It's a lot of things. Because now I'm thinking that issue number 5 is really going to be about I said the answer, Proud. Matt lashes out and tries to track down the elemental out of rage, out of blame, like saying like, this is your fault, you need to fix this, sort of thing. And then he does. He finds Rai. And Rai's like, sorry, man, there's nothing I can do. You're screwed. And then he's like, fuck. And he has to deal with it. Fair enough, Sheeps. Fair enough. Yeah, exactly, Proud. That's exactly what I'm describing. That there's so much hate and anger and there's no resolution, you have to look to yourself. Well, I think he hits a certain level of rock bottom in issue number 2, but I think we're also going to bring him to a whole other rock bottom in issue number 5. Because I think that issue number 5 really needs, more so than this call to quest, it needs to be about pushing him to that rock bottom. Of facing his otherness. And we can use the call to quest as kind of like a cliffhanger at the end of issue 5 to pull you into issue 6 when he's actively trying to change the fact, like to restore the status quo, to change things back to the way they were, so that he doesn't have to deal with all this stuff that he's been forced to deal with. And no, I don't think he blames them after that, but I do think he guilts them into helping him. What's part of him, Proud? What people? I feel like I'm missing an element. Are you asking about, are the strangers beyond the door and all that part of him? Are you asking if being able to see the others, the other world is part of him? Yeah, the ability to see is part of him. I don't think they're a part of him. Alright, Sheeps. Have a good sleep. I hope I answered the right questions for your comic. Enjoy your sleep. Yeah. Well, I think he's trying to do all three. Proud. That's the thing. I think he's trying to accept what's happened to him, but he also denies it by not interacting with it, and then he's forced to manipulate it so that he can deal with those other things. Yeah, maybe. But in my head, it's coming across as all three. Though, I guess what I'm talking about is more so like you're talking about concrete outcomes. What I'm talking about is that, he's trying to accept it, but he's actually denying it. And through his denial, he tries to manipulate things, which then leads to acceptance. So, I mean, I just said the same thing you said. Yeah. Hmm. All right. I have to go to the bathroom, and it's just about break time, so I'm going to take my break, my second break. But then I'll be back, and we can continue discussing this. We can try and figure out, or we could try and figure out what the call to quest is, because I still haven't gotten that 100% down. No. Like, see, when I'm specifically calling the call to quest as like this is not an inciting incident like or a call to action, which is different. The call to quest is specifically the way of getting him on the idea that there is a potion out there that can make him normal again. So I have the call to action, like that's all there. I'm not worried about that. This is good stuff to talk about because it's giving me a much better concrete idea of his emotional state as he travels through the issues and where he's getting to. So that stuff's important, but that's not actually his call to quest. I mean, call to quest is probably not even the right term. Like literally giving him a quest. Call to action is something different. It is a storytelling term. It's kind of the thing that forces your character to choose if he's going to accept this new status quo or attempt to change it or whatever. We've already given him the call to action. If that makes sense. But yeah, break time. I'll see you in all about 5-7 minutes. Yeah. All right, I'm back. Cool. So yeah, I agree with you, Pride. I think rumors fuel desperate people for sure. I've been playing around with that idea. Also, finding out about someone else who may have done it is also good. So I've been playing around with that as well, and I actually think I have a myth and legend, but specifically this one right here, that in world would make a lot of sense. So I'll write that down. And I'm actually thinking that I might even be real clever about it. Because if issue 5... Yeah, because I almost want issue 5 to be this sort of like... Huh. Yeah, I almost want issue 5 to be like he's on stress leave from work. Spending time at regular bars, but he keeps seeing things. So he lashes out from his denial. And finds himself back in the Otherworld bar. Because of that, they're coming up on a holiday, I guess is the way I'd put it. A holiday, like feast day sort of thing, of the Dragon Slayer. And those rumors, or those stories that they're telling because of it, have links to something that might be able to cure him. So he starts asking questions. Yeah, there we go. Now we're starting to get a handle on it. Now we're starting to get a handle on it. Okay, cool. Good. Good. All right. So I think I figured out issue 5, which is awesome. And then I have a good idea for where to head from there to issue 6, 7, and 8. All right. Cool. We made a lot of progress on that, like this concept today, which is awesome. So now, does anyone have any questions for me or anything they wanted to talk about in terms of writing with me? Because if so, now's the time. Yes, Proud, you helped. You helped by being wrong yet again. I'm just kidding. But kind of not. So yeah, I think I'm starting to see the links and the things that I had already put in place, but they're now a lot stronger. I'm sorry, Proud. You helped a lot. You helped a lot. I promise. I promise you helped. So yeah, other than that, yeah, I don't think I have anything else. So, I guess in terms of this project, Strangers Beyond the Door, you will be able to check out Andrew's work on that on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. He's going to be continuing character concepts. Starting with the second version of Rai, the Lightning Elemental, the sort of otherworldly version that only certain beings within the world can see, as well as starting on the concept of the dam. Thanks for hitting that shout out, Proud. Yeah, he's going to be continuing to work on those concepts. So tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern for those. I will be there, though I will be a little late because I have to work and stuff. But I will be there at some point during the night. So yeah, definitely that. What else? Anything else I need to talk about in terms of that kind of stuff? I don't think so. I think I've covered most of the things. Yeah, I got a new bot. There's that. So how are people liking this format? I know Sheep's left, but Sheep just stated that she liked it. Are people liking this format? Is it weird? I'm experimenting. I'm making some changes, trying to see where we can push this stream to. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you liked it, Brad. It felt pretty good. I'm a little overslept today, so I'm feeling a little edgy. But that's not because of the stream. That's just in general. So there's that. Sam's probably writing right now, which is why he's not answering. He's usually working while I'm streaming, which is fine. I did ask him to show up so that I could see get his opinion later for sure. There you are, Sam. What did I think, or are you asking? Are you asking Sam Proud? Yeah, it was. It totally was. But isn't that kind of the point? Um, because there wasn't dead air, there wasn't like random weirdness. Because isn't the randomly the interesting part of Twitch? Yeah, we're winding down a little bit now. Mostly because I've accomplished a lot of the things I accomplished, and I didn't come up with a third question to keep moving forward, unfortunately. But that's okay. That stuff happens. I think we've made some good progress here today, for sure. Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, on Friday I will be streaming Friday morning. I'm not entirely sure what time that will be. It'll definitely be before noon, because I'm probably gonna have to leave my house around 12:30. So it'll be before that for sure. Probably only about an hour or two. So not the regular 3 hours or anything like that, unless I really want to. Yeah. Something like that. And then I will be streaming Monday with the book club, Rewrite Book Club. We're going to be checking out finishing the rest of this guy, the last half of The Black Company by Glenn Cook. And then on Tuesday, I will be streaming at the regular 12 p.m. time. Because I want to. Also because it's to make up for missing the Sunday stream. I'm going to be at a convention this Sunday, so I will not be here. Yeah. So that's all the news I think I have. If you check out the events on the channel, you'll be able to see all this stuff that I've talked about. I've been adding it through. Yeah. All sounds good? Good. I'm glad. It sounds good. Yeah, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Andrew's stream. Friday, my stream. Sunday, I'm off. Monday and Tuesday, I'll be streaming. And I'll probably be on with Andrew again Tuesday, Wednesday night. Because we're going to be continue working on concepts, so there will be some of that going on. I won't, yeah. I mean, I'll be there most of the time. I won't necessarily be calling in. But I will be there. If you aren't following Andrew, you should be, because he's awesome. He's an awesome illustrator. His comic work is phenomenal. So there's that. Yeah. Now's the time to ask any questions. Otherwise, I'm probably going to be closing out the stream in a few minutes. We've been going for about just over 2 hours, like 2 hours, 15 minutes or so. Maybe 2 hour 20, I guess, which is good length. Usually we aim for about 3 hours, and I give myself that option. Just in case, but I got a lot of what I wanted to accomplish today. So that's always important. Yeah. Oh, I guess there is one other thing I could talk about. So if you've tried to visit the website link below, it is currently disabled. I have a lander screen up there to block it out. I am working on my website. I am changing it from the way that it was before. I'm not going to worry about episode VODs anymore or anything like that. It was too much work, and honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of benefit to it. So that stuff's all going to be gone. I will continue to be posting my episode VODs on YouTube, so you can check them out there if you like. On the website, it's going to be a portfolio for me. There's going to be information about the shows, both this and the Read Write podcast, as well as some of my work and stuff on there, and then information about me in general will also be up on there. So that's what you're going to start seeing on there, on the website. And I'm working on that right now. I was talking to Erica, my good friend Erica Cotton, about that yesterday. Or the day before, I guess. Yeah, Friday. And she gave me some good advice on it. So I'm going to be changing it like that. So yeah, keep an eye out. I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the month. And that'll be a lot easier for me because I was constantly behind on updates before, and honestly I feel like making it an archive of content that's already on YouTube isn't particularly helpful, so I think this will be a lot better for that. Yeah, if you have any questions on that, you feel free to get in touch. My Twitter is above there to the right. You'll see it. Sorry, this way. Yes, there to the right. Twitter at Freaklab Mishap. Instagram Accidental Origin. And yeah, website down below. You'd also find all those links in the description boxes underneath the channel there. If you're interested, and you can reach out to me on there if you have any questions or anything like that. Right, I forgot there was a social command. I always forget there's a social command. Way to not have a unified brand. I can't get Accidental Origin on Twitter. I tried. It's taken. I tried, man. I tried. So let's just go to that real quick. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh, nothing comes up. But yeah. 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 I could. I have no idea if it hasn't tweeted in a while. I just know that it existed when I created the account. Huh. Apparently it doesn't exist anymore. It definitely did before. Maybe I can get it. Interesting. Would that be confusing though to switch? Social media experts here. Would that be confusing if I switched to all the same, if I switch my Twitter from what it was to what it is? Or from what it is to what it will be? That's not confusing at all. No, it'd make more sense? Okay, I will see if I can do that then. Because that does make more sense. All right. Cool. So, yeah. And I thought about making it at Cosmic Zord, but I felt like that would also be confusing. Um, so there's that too. What the hell? Oh, it won't let me. Yeah, see, it won't let me type the last thing. Gives me this annoyingness. There's a cap on the max. Yeah, the characters are too long. So I can't do it. Yeah. Cut out random vowels. No. I'll think about it. I'll think about it off stream and we will figure it out. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me for today, guys. Yeah, it is. It's gonna be it. So without further ado, My name is Brendan. This has been Accidental Origin, your weekly writing web show. Come hang out with me on Friday, guys. It'll be fun. It'll be way early in the morning for no apparent reason, but that's cool. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the follows today, Gabib, Link Sausage. Appreciate that. I'll catch you all later, I guess, guys. Have a good one. Stay tuned. I will be hosting probably Stevie. So, yeah. Bye.